Welcome back to our festive Christmas, 12 weeks of Christmas. Would you believe we're into the third week? We're on the countdown. Tonight we're sharing, as you voted, for festive sauerkraut. Sauerkraut, to make it with that festive touch, we're thinking of things like cinnamon and all things Christmas. Of course, in my crocks, I do my bulk sauerkraut for the year. But that's just very simple sauerkraut because that's something that we're going to mix in every day in our food. So I keep it really simple. I just put the salt, and in my salt I have a little bit, that black that you see through there is kelp. And it's just beautiful, and that's all I put into my sauerkraut. But when you want to share your sauerkraut, you want to make some festive hampers, it's so lovely to just put something a little bit different from just your cabbage and salt. So you can see here we've already massaged and hugged the cabbage, and it's drawn out all its own brine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a gut-loving bouquet, because that's really lovely to put into your little hamper. So with a gut-loving bouquet, all we do is add some edible flowers. That's it, just some edible flowers and a little bit of turmeric and a little bit of ginger. And that'll be just enough there. Now the edible flowers, make sure when you're getting edible flowers that you do get them from a source where they are edible. You can buy them. You can buy little punnets of them, and they actually, when they're fermented, they taste like a caper. And that's exactly how you use them, like you would a caper. Now that has to be pressed in there really tight. It's a bit hard here. I've got all little, if Tub's watching, our wonderful Tub, who's my Western friend, he will know about the Louis, and I've let the Louis in, Tub. So I've got a few little blowy flies blowing around. Not good. Our heater's come in, and this is not the time of the year that I normally make sauerkraut because it is way too hot. But that's okay, we're doing it for our Christmas. So there you see, can you see that we're packing it in nice and tight. We don't want any air bubbles in there. We want to leave a little bit of room at the top so that there's that room there for expansion, that nice CO2, the bubbles that it creates, it will need to come up and to expand. So you'll see there, it's all covered. Look at those pretty little flowers. And so onto the top, we put a nice little outside cabbage leaf is what we'll use today. You can use like a glass dunker, or you could use like a daikon wedge, but we'll just use the outside, and we make sure that they are also submerged. We won't be using those, but they're just there as a weight to keep it all submerged. The big thing is with your sauerkraut, as you'll hear me say often, just make sure that it's suffocated. If you've got it suffocated, you'll never have a problem. So that's what we're doing there, we're suffocating the cabbage. So that's basically it. So there we go, we've got a gut-loving bouquet. Oh, look at that. Can you see those little flowers? Now, that sauerkraut, it'll change in colour, and it'll depend on your temperature to where you are, to how long it will take, and you'll know when it's ready because it'll go from that green to that beige. So once you've got that beigey colour, and you'll know that clear brine has turned to a sort of cloudiness. So then you'll know that you're all ready to go. My big crocks, I temperature, make sure that they are in the right temperatures, and I leave them anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks. But when you've got little bottles like this and we're starting to put mix-ins in, depends on what we do put the mix-in in. Like a really lovely Christmas one is just your green or your white cabbage, whatever you like to call it, but your green cabbage with goji berry and pear. Just a little bit of pear, not too much pear. Never overdo your fruit, because otherwise you're going to, our role is just so small. It's the bacteria that pre-digest these foods for us. That's their job. They work like an outside gut. So they pre-digest it, and they produce all those beautiful strains of gut-loving bacteria. So it's a gift. They really are gifts, even though we're at the moment talking festive. They're gifts for us for every day of the year, not just in the festive season. So yeah, so a pear and some goji berries is a lovely little simple mix, and the goji berries will plump all up. As is something like lemon slices and some seaweed. This is my lemon slices and seaweed. It's got some little flowers in there as well. And this is a lovely festive mix. Your lemon slices do cut them a little bit bigger than a small wedge because they do shrink a little bit. But you can use the ferment, you can use it as it is, like all that in your sauerkraut. You can use that just as is or mix it into salads, and the seaweed itself, it swells right up and it's just superb. See that? I've got a few different varieties of seaweed in there. So with the lemon slices, what's really lovely for Christmas is you can dig out your fermented lemon and you can use it on your potatoes, and you will get just some wonderful festive potatoes. So with your potatoes, if you soak them overnight in brine, in your sauerkraut brine, that'll remove all the starch. And then when you get up in the morning and you're getting ready to do your Christmas lunch, make them nice and dry with like a paper towel. Get a little fork and scour them over there. Steam them first, steam them, then paper towel them, and then get your fork and scour them and put them into the oven with your fermented lemon. Now, you're going to take away the good bacteria, but almighty, the taste, it's just superb. So that lemon that you put into your potato, and of course the sauerkraut brine will help remove that starch, and the flavour is just superb. So yeah, so that's a good little one, just your seaweed and your little lemon slices. I put a few little flowers in there and some turmeric and ginger. So if we move on, I'll just move that out of the road and bring a mix of red and green cabbage. So when you're mixing your red and green, I like to work on about half a green cabbage, a good solid if you're using like a drumhead. Savoy is actually the very best cabbage if you want a really good sauerkraut. It's a softer leaf cabbage. It ferments a lot quicker than your drumhead. You don't see them around. And if you're a gardener like me, my old urban gardener hands, you will know that you don't get as good as yields. That's why you don't see a lot, but it does make a lovely sauerkraut, and it will ferment quicker because it's a softer leaf. So it's not as hard as like with this. So if you work on, say, a half of, like if I'm talking drumhead, you know, like a big drumhead, a half of that to a quarter of a red cabbage, and then we're going to mix in some fruit. So if you're mixing in, working on that half and quarter, you would just use no more than 1 to 2 apples, or one, that's a whopping big pear, that one. So I would only be using half of them. So that's what I'm going to put in there tonight. We're going to put in some of that pear. And again, I said you could use apple, you could use persimmon, any fruit, because this is for Christmas. This is really nice if you're a pork eater at Christmas time. And you know, apple kraut is just lovely to serve on the side of it. So this has got the pear though, and it's got turmeric and it's got ginger. So it's got your chopped up turmeric and ginger, and it's got some of my mixed spice. So this little spice, it's got some beautiful smell, very Christmassy. It's got some of my own vanilla, which I make, and I ground it all to a powder. So it's got some vanilla powder, some cinnamon, some ginger, and a little tiny little bit of clove. But if you do put in cloves like that, do dig them out. Don't leave the clove in there. So here we go. Oh, you smell. It's just superb. So that's already got it's produced enough liquid there. So there we go. Now we're just going to pop that into here. Same deal again. Put him in and make him really tight. Now, if you're going to be giving them for gifts, you want them to look nice. And I always say we make one for you and one to give. One for gifting, the power of giving, and this beautiful, well, they give us all this great bacteria, so why not share it? So these are the little pears. Now what I've used is the little cookie cutters there, and I've cut them into stars. And you'll find that the colour will come all one colour. You won't end up with this two-toned like it is there. Now I'm just going to have to pop that down, and I just have to get my muscles going to work. Oops, sorry for the noise. So that's apple kraut. Now the other one that I want to make is one with cranberries, because cranberries are just a wonderful Christmas treat. We actually make a cranberry relish, which is really lovely to put onto your table and to serve, like especially with your turkey, and if you make any of your caviar cheeses, it goes beautiful. So we're just bringing all that liquid up to make it suffocated. I'll have my tongue out. Isn't it funny when you do something and you go like that? It helps with it. With your bottles, these are the Fido bottles, mine are getting a little bit old, and if you find that the seal's not real good on them, double seal them. So you'll see there I actually put 2 seals on there, so then it gives it, because we have to keep it oxygen free. That's the deal with sauerkraut. Our job, as I said, is just to set up that right environment, and then they'll produce it all for you. So there we've got him. So there's our apple kraut. Merry Christmas, kraut. Now, I'll just pop him over there and we'll make one more. This one we're going to put some orange slices. We're going to use that same one. We're going to add some cranberries. And of course the orange slices. You could, if you wish, you could put a little bit of orange juice in there, but it's not necessary because there's enough liquid in there. So that's got the cranberries in there. And we're just going to pop them into the bottle again, same deal. I'll come back and press them all in because you've got the idea now that what we'll do is with that one, we're just going to slide the oranges, and of course you can use those, you can pull those out and put them into your salads. Makes the fermented orange, when it comes out of your sauerkraut, is beautiful in a salad with tomato and like sliced leeks. They don't have to be fermented leeks, but you can use them, but sliced fresh tomato and the leek and the fermented orange and a little bit of like a feta cheese. Oh, it's just beautiful, and some olive oil dressing. So that's the way that we use those. So you've got the deal. We'll just keep putting those in and put it to the top. So the next one that I've got here is pineapple. And what this is really good for is say if you're like me at the moment, we've had to go out and purchase our cabbage because we've already harvested all our cabbage and have them all into our crops. But if you need to get them in there out of season, sometimes you'll find that your cabbages are too dry because they've been in storage too long. Even though we go to the markets and buy organic ones, I mean, it still can be like that. So we need to have that moisture. So what you do is you add something with moisture in there. And in this case, we've got pineapple, and we've got what we call it capsicum. It's often known as a sweet pepper. These ones are out of my garden, and I've got red, and I've got green, and I've got gold. So that's what, and I put a little bit of turmeric and a little bit of ginger. It's beautiful because a pickled pineapple is just so tasty. So once again, we'll just put that all in and do the same deal where we press it all in and make sure that it's all totally submerged and tight, like tight. That's the deal. And we just keep going with that up to the top. Fennel's a wonderful ingredient to add to your sauerkraut, especially for your festive sauerkraut. Just fennel and cranberry, and even a little bit of turmeric. I love fennel. Fennel and turmeric is one of my favourite sauerkrauts. So I just put in the fresh fennel and turmeric. You can use like a turmeric powder, that's fine. And you know that the bioavailability of turmeric, it goes through the roof. There's no need to add peppercorns like you do in, say, making golden paste. You're really better off not to put peppercorns into your sauerkraut because it's way too overpowering. So yeah, fennel and cranberry, that's a really, really nice, simple sauerkraut, as I said, the cranberry with either an apple or a pear. So that's really my festive sauerkraut. When we've made them all, we can turn them into many things. Like here we have a tabbouleh, which is a lovely festive tabbouleh. So this has got your sauerkraut in there and some fresh ingredients. You know, it does have a little bit of fermented radish there on the top, just to give it a little bit of stars. That's just my little fermented radish. But it has quinoa, cooked quinoa, and it has your sauerkraut mixed through it, some greens, lots of herbs from out of my garden, some lovely little fresh tomatoes out of my garden, and some shallots, some of the little spring onions, and even including the greens. You don't need to put a dressing in that because the dressing's already been produced in the sauerkraut. It's got a beautiful flavour. It's nicer if it is made like the day before that you want to serve it, so that it's one that you can, and it'll just keep on evolving the flavour in the fridge. It'll keep up to like a week, and it's really nice, and you can add things to it. It's nice to mix your sauerkrauts in for your Christmas festive table. A red sauerkraut for Christmas is very easy to make, just with a red cabbage and juniper berries, a little bit of turmeric and ginger. That's a lovely sauerkraut for Christmas. And then when you go to serve it, mix it in with like as if you were doing a massaged kale salad. So your fresh kale with your olive oil, and then just put that red sauerkraut in with there, and that's a beautiful, just a lovely little side that you can have along on your festive platter. So that's really, I think I've covered enough there for you without being too overwhelming. Do ask any questions if there's anything there that you're not sure of, and we'll see you again with our festive season next week. Thank you. Love and bacteria.